Should black people just forget about racism? That is the question that I want to talk about today. Now, if I could go back in time and change being black, I absolutely would. Not change being black. I love being a black man. I love black women. I love black people in all their many forms. And I definitely would not change that. Now, there are some black people that I absolutely despise. I mean, I hate them with all my heart. And that is black people that go out of their way to do other people's bidding by putting dirt on the image of black people, or either just damaging, the world's perception of our intellect and all of that good stuff. Those people I hate. I would rather you just be a white supremacist, call me a nigga and be done with it, because at least I know where you stand. An enemy from within is the absolute worst enemy that you can have. It just feels like the world has taken this tremendous shift in the past 10 years, but I know it's been going on longer than that, where it's just gone full-blown rich versus poor and middle class. Now, you have this small population of rich people who are doing everything in their power to oppress this much larger group of poor and middle class people. And the interesting thing about it is that it's poor white people and middle class white people, Asian poor and middle class, Hispanic poor and middle class, and Latino poor and middle class. So it's not just specific to a certain race. That's why I say that it's rich versus poor and middle class. Just look at the actions of rich people, like the things that they're investing in and the things that they're taking control of, like the media, for example. They own all of the major media companies. And the reason they do that is so that they can control the narrative and the information that we get. They now control the education system so that they can rewrite history and make us just forget about all the other things and injustices that have been done in the world. They also want to control the judicial system so that they can keep themselves out of jail. They can reward people who help them do their bidding. They also want to control the financial system and the tax system so that they can control your money, but also they can control how much money they take from you, but also they can control how much money that they pay in taxes. And lastly, they want to be able to control the military, because if we get out of line, they'll have the military backing to put us all back in line and control us. And no race is safe from this. No white person, black person, Hispanic, Latino, or Asian, or green, red, purple, whatever color you are. If you're not rich and you're part of the poor and the middle class, then you are in jeopardy of being oppressed by the ultra rich. So if you're not going to focus on solving racial inequality in the world, then what should we focus on? Well, the first thing that I'm going to say we should focus on is your money. You got to get your money up, because in this new world, you are going to need options. And unfortunately, it just is what it is. Money can give you those options. I am a regular, everyday person. There's nothing unique or special about me. But over the past 10 years, I've been able to increase my net worth, and I've done it just by following some basic principles. But those principles generally start with following what rich people do, watching them, studying and reading books about what rich people do. And then you just go and make those moves in your life to kind of follow a roadmap that's based on those principles. And I promise you that you will be able to grow your net worth as well. Yes, and as a black person, I do understand that you're going to get looked over. You're going to get bypassed. You are going to have to work twice as hard just to get the same result that maybe somebody of another race might have to do. But you cannot let that stop you from getting your money up. You can't let racism stop you from getting ahead. You just got to keep pushing forward and doing what you got to do. So here are a few things that I believe black people should focus on instead of focusing on racism. How about we focus on education? Despite what the world is saying right now, that a college education is not worth it, it costs too much, and it doesn't get you a great job and so forth, I believe that's all foolishness that you just got to ignore. Because here's the way that I look at it. If you look at all the members of Congress, the judicial branch, the executive branch, all of these people are educated. They are educated at some of the most elite schools in the United States and abroad. And if they can use education to get in a position to where they get to make the decisions about my life as a middle class person, then it would make sense for me to invest in education as well, because they're making decisions about my life. Now, I understand that education is not the sole reason why they are in those positions, but It is a common denominator amongst all of them. So don't worry about what people are saying. You better go out there and get your education. And I'm not necessarily always talking about an education in terms of a college degree. It could be an education from a technical school. It could be education from an apprenticeship. It doesn't matter. Because the real deal is this, is that on average, people who have more education, more skills, more training, make more money over a lifetime than the people who have lesser education, lesser skills, lesser training. So it just simply makes sense to me that you would want to be in the group that makes more money. So set aside all this bullshit that people are talking about and go out, get your education, get your skills enhanced, get your training enhanced. Focus on taxes. Yes, I said taxes, because that is going to be your biggest expense in your lifetime. And what rich people do is that they invest money in tax professionals to help them pay less taxes. They build their entire money-making strategy and structure around taxes because they understand that taxes are going to be their biggest expense as well. So that's what you got to learn to do. Again, not talking to poor people necessarily, but if you own a small business or, if you invest in real estate, there are certain things that you can do from a tax perspective to lessen the amount of taxes that you pay and keep more money in your pocket. But you can't do that if you don't learn and educate yourself about these things, because that's exactly what rich people are doing. Here's the deal. There is no tax code for Black people, white people, Asian people, Latino people, Hispanic people, and so forth. There is a tax code that is for rich versus poor middle class people. Rich people know how to utilize that tax code. We have to learn the strategies to lower our taxes. And man, sometimes that's going to require you to spend some money. I mean, I spend money on the CPA to help me with my real estate investments because I want to be able to keep as much money in my pocket as possible. And sometimes that's going to require you to spend some money on a tax professional. So I do what I got to do. Also spend money on books related to taxes and tax strategy. I listen to a lot of podcasts about taxes. I listen to a lot of videos about taxes because here's the one thing that I truly understand. When those taxes hit, they're going to hit Karen, just like they're going to hit Rosa, just like they're going to hit Meline, just like they're going to hit Sharonda, and just like they're going to hit Maria. The stock market, it does not care if you're Black. The stock market is going to rise and it's going to fall for everybody who's invested in it. It's going to rise and fall the exact same way. Now, do rich people generally have some information, through connections and so forth that they can utilize to get ahead of the game? Sure. But for those who don't, it's going to rise and fall on them the same way that it rises and falls on a poor person or a middle class person. Every portion of your paycheck, you need to somehow be able to figure out how to square away a small portion of it into investments. And it doesn't even have to be anything super crazy or sexy, or you don't have to learn how to select stocks or anything like that. I mean, you could put it in an S&P 500 index fund where you're buying 500 of the largest companies in the United States. The only way you're going to be able to benefit is if you're invested in it. So you got to get your focus on that. Rental real estate is another investment that we should be focused on. I own rental real estate, and I can tell you this. None of my tenants have met me and know whether I'm Black, white, green, or purple. And I haven't met many of my tenants, so I don't know what race or color they are. And it doesn't matter to them, and it doesn't matter to me. Here's what matters to me. Do you have the income? Do you have the credit score? Do you have a non-valid renting history? If you can meet basic criteria like this to my satisfactory, then you will be considered for one of my houses. And all I really care about is at the first of the month that you're paying me my rent and you're not tearing up the place. And you better get into this rental real estate game pretty soon, because the way rich people and their companies are buying up assets like houses and land and natural resources and so forth, that it's going to get to a point to where our kids are not going to be able to even afford a home. In no means am I saying that Black people should forget about the past, nor am I saying that Black people should just let other people just run wild and disrespect us and throw dirt on our names without holding them accountable. No, I'm not saying any of that. I mean, we are a multi-talented, multi-layered group of people, so we can do two things at once. We can fight inequality, but do not let that be your only mission. Crying about racism and not really doing anything to further yourself, it's not going to do any good, because at the end of the day, people are trying to get ahead. Nobody really cares about you individually. But more importantly, there is a war going on. And that war is not necessarily with other races. That war is between rich people poor people and middle class people. Look, I'm not going to dive any deeper into this, otherwise I might piss a lot of people off, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to tell you this. The last thing I want in this world is to have 100% equality with a poor black person, a poor white person, a poor Hispanic person, a poor Latino person, or a poor Asian person. Nothing about that shit sounds exciting to me. I want equality with rich people. So my goal for the near future is to just lock in even more on asset accumulation, savings, investing, understanding taxes, doing everything I can to keep more money in my pocket and so forth. Now, this world was already crazy, but it's getting crazier by the day. And if it gets too crazy, me, my wife, and kids, we just might have to flee the U.S. and go somewhere else. And you can't do that if you're broke. You need money because money gives you options. That's all I have for you in this video today. If you took something of value, please like and share. In the meantime, take care of yourself. Be safe out here in these social media streets.